Have you ever thought of how your childhood binges, those cartoons, movies, books we've seen in our most vulnerable states and fluid minds have shaped you? How they've permeated time and space in the deepest form of memory, nostalgia. How can we still remember and live by those narratives so long ago? Because they're tales of fairy, of magical other worlds, of happiness, luck, fortune, of truth that we've been taught as children. They're fairy tales that concretize fears and concerns, that instill values, morals, and hope, allowing feverish environments to reflect upon vices that continue to plague our society. These tales, told hundreds and thousands of years ago, are still relevant because they've manifested into forms and contexts suitable for their milieu. In reshaping tales, we are offered a powerful means to articulate personal experiences, giving life to the past to reveal that what to fear is not monsters, but the darker sides of humanity. These newfound insights into the past and awareness of our mistakes and others' experiences empower us to reflect upon ourselves and the society we live in. Take the story of Briar, for instance, where Jane Yolen transforms Jem's subconscious need to speak of the Holocaust atrocities into an allegorical Sleeping Beauty tale. Since even upon thinking of the 13th angel, she shook herself all over, it was crucial of Gemma to use a fairy tale that tells of an unreal story separated from reality as a good way to cope, to give life to experiences without having to directly relive it. Indeed, the experiences were nowhere near sleeping. There was inhumanity, degrading struggle, intergenerational trauma in all its rawest forms, yet Yolen manages to distinctly illustrate how the euphemism of their deaths, the hopeful future of happily ever after with no attendance towards the immorality of the past, is wrong. Society isn't restored. Acts haven't been accepted just because it has stopped. Jem's persistent tellings urge this realization. The fact that she resolves herself to tell the story despite all this empowers the victims' voices to be heard, to be acknowledged and reflected upon, to realize that we must never repeat the darkest chapter in our history. We mustn't be the no one who cared to know about the sleeping folk inside, the people who feigned ignorance, were oblivious, too scared or didn't ask for help. This line, spoken by Gemma, reveals her condemnation of society, her disappointment and frustration towards those who turned a blind eye to the victims condemned for being born. These criticisms felt on the emotionally vulnerable levels that fairy tales and novels offer us who were, perhaps, previously comfortable, disturbed. The story reveals that we at times are the monsters, that what we must fear is not the monsters of the tales in the closet or under our beds, but the monster that is humanity. What wrong have you overlooked? What did or did you not do despite knowing the consequences? Yolen masterfully enacts change to the realization that in order to escape from the darkest sides of ourselves, that in order to grow as a society, we must reflect upon the past. Moving on, Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands manifests personal experiences of isolation that suburban life had subjected him to into a masterpiece that intertwines fairy tale-like simplicity with reality. Due to his personal experiences of ostracization, Burton's approach in the monster's characterization aligns with his understanding of the human tendency to exclude anyone or anything that does not conform with our norms. The archetypal monster is subverted through stark contrast of Edward's harsh costuming and instant character with its deceitfully bright, friendly suburban society. The long shots of perfectly lined up houses, neat bushes, bird's eye view of all the cars exiting the driveway, and the busy jump cuts between the nosy women together foster a strong sense of conformity. Everyone must be doing the same things at the same time. Even their dogs and lawns and hair must look the same. In fact, with the disturbance of a different person, Burton reveals suburban society's tendency to impose their values upon others. They try to change him. Only when they realize he cannot be like them, that he is different, that he does not conform with their expectations, that he is chased back into his dark castle. This monster, who is more human than any of them, is framed and punished for crimes he didn't commit, assumed the worst of, and given no opportunity to voice the truth, only to suppress feelings of frustration. All this simply because he is different, because he has scissor hands, because he is quiet, timid, selfless. Hence, Burton artfully criticizes the closed-mindedness and inability of suburban societies to truly accept the other, and how to fit in everyone must act and look like each other. Additionally, he understands that it's often through human interference that monsters are created. Our greed makes those different become vicious. This reveals his interest in exploring the humanity of monsters and how that is then reflective of how we feel about ourselves. Moreover, the ending scenes of Edward's beautiful ice sculptures and artificial snow that glitter down illustrates that though lonely, he has found comfort, thus ultimately expressing another truth, that it's okay to feel lonely. He provides assurance that everyone has times they feel like the monster. Therefore, if there's anything to take away, it's that tales all throughout time tell of our experiences. They tell us who we are, how we think, and shape our world. They educate us of the horrors of humanity, warn us of mistakes not to repeat, encourage us to grow, and comfort us when we're anxious, notions of which Briar and Edward Scissorhands masterfully explore.